What if I told you that you already have a real-life supersuit? One that can repair itself, control your temperature, and shield you from all sorts of invaders and even radiation? Well, you do. It's your skin. Today, we're going to unbox the incredible technology that's built right into your body's first and best line of defense, the integumentary system. So, let's dive in.
You've definitely been there, right? A sudden blast of cold air, maybe a scary movie, and bam, your arm looks just like this. Well, those tiny little bumps, that's actually one of your supersuit's features kicking into gear. It's a perfect example of this amazing system that's always working, completely automatically, to keep you safe. But how in the world does it do it?
Well, that whole setup is called the integumentary system. And trust me, it's so much more than just a simple covering. You should think of it as a complex, multi-layered organ that basically forms a protective shield around your entire body. It's our own personal, living armor. So what's this suit woven from? Well, it's a mix of 4 different kinds of tissue. You've got epithelial tissue, which is the outer layer you see. Then there's connective tissue underneath that, giving it strength and support. You've got nerve tissue, which is your communication network that lets you feel everything. And yeah, there's even muscle tissue in there. Those are the tiny little muscles that contract and give you goosebumps. All right, to really understand how this supersuit works, we've got to look at the blueprints. It's built with 3 distinct layers, and each one has its own absolutely critical mission. And here we go. This diagram gives us the perfect cross-section. Right at the very top, that's the epidermis, our surface shield. Just below it, you've got the dermis, which is kind of like the busy command center. And way down at the bottom, the subcutaneous layer is our built-in insulation. Let's take a closer look at what each one of these layers is really doing.
First up, the epidermis. This is your frontline defender. It's the layer you see and touch. It's waterproof thanks to a tough protein called keratin, which, by the way, is the same stuff your hair and nails are made of. This layer also has cells that produce melanin, which is the pigment that acts like your body's own natural sunscreen. And what's really cool is that it's constantly rebuilding itself, making new cells to replace the old ones.
Okay, now we dive a little deeper to the dermis, and this is where all the action happens. Seriously, it's the thickest layer, and it is packed with all the high-tech gadgets. You've got hair follicles, sweat glands, oil glands, nerve endings that let you feel things, and those little muscle fibers we keep talking about. This is really the functional core of the whole system. And finally, we get down to the subcutaneous layer. You can think of this as the suit's power pack and its insulation. It's mostly made of fatty tissue that not only stores energy, but crucially helps hold on to your body heat, keeping you warm from the inside out.
You know, one of the most vital jobs of this supersuit is acting as your own personal thermostat. It's constantly working behind the scenes to keep your internal body temperature right where it needs to be, no matter what it's like outside.
So how does it pull that off? Well, to cool you down, your sweat glands release sweat. As that water evaporates off your skin, it literally pulls heat away from your body. It's like your own personal air conditioner. And to keep you warm, that fatty subcutaneous layer acts as insulation, and those little muscles contract, giving you goosebumps, trying to trap a layer of warm air right next to your skin.
But wait, there's more. Your skin doesn't just manage temperature. It's also kind of a mini power plant. When sunlight hits it, it cleverly converts that UV radiation into vitamin D. And that's a nutrient that is absolutely essential for helping you absorb calcium and build strong, healthy bones.
So beyond the layers themselves, our supersuit also comes with a set of built-in tools, or appendages. And by that, we're talking about your hair, your nails, and the glands that produce oil.
You know, your hair isn't just sitting on the surface. Each and every strand grows out of this tiny little pocket deep in the dermis called a hair follicle. New cells form down at the bottom, they push the older ones up, and as they move up, they fill with that tough protein, keratin, and become the hair that we see.
Here's a great little fun fact for you. The hard part of your nail, the part that you can see and cut, it's actually dead tissue. Just like your hair, nails are also made of keratin. And their whole job is to protect the really sensitive tips of our fingers and toes. All right, pop quiz time. Let's see if you've been paying attention. Listen closely. True or false? Sebaceous glands, those are your oil glands, are found in the epidermis, and their main job is to keep the skin dry. What do you think? And the answer is false. These glands are actually located deep down in the dermis, and they're usually connected to hair follicles. They produce an oil called sebum, and it does the exact opposite of drying you out. It lubricates and waterproofs your skin and hair so they don't get all brittle.
Of course, no suit is totally indestructible. Our skin takes a beating every single day. But honestly, one of its most mind-blowing features is its ability to perform on-the-spot emergency repairs.
The second you get a cut, this incredible 3-step emergency protocol just kicks right in. First, your blood clots up and forms a scab, which is like a temporary patch to keep germs from getting in. Second, the skin cells underneath start dividing like crazy. That's a process called mitosis to build new tissue and fill in the gap. And finally, white blood cells act like security guards, patrolling the area and destroying any bacteria that manage to sneak past. But, the biggest threat our skin faces every day probably isn't a cut or a scrape. It's the sun. That ultraviolet, or UV, radiation in sunlight can actually damage the DNA inside our skin cells. That's what leads to sunburns and, over a long time, much more serious problems.
So let's talk about protecting ourselves from that threat. The SPF on sunscreen, that stands for Sun Protection Factor, and it's basically a multiplier. So let's do some quick math. If your skin normally starts to get red after about 15 minutes in the sun, how long would an SPF of 50 theoretically protect you for? Think about it.
The answer is 750 minutes. That's a whopping 12.5 hours. And that sounds incredible, right? But that number comes with a really big catch.
Yeah, that number is only what would happen in a perfect world, in a lab. In the real world, sunscreen wears off, you sweat it off, you swim it off, you rub it off. That's why reapplying it every couple of hours is what actually gives you real, effective protection from all that UV damage.
So let's just quickly recap the key features of this incredible super suit of yours. It regulates your temperature, it protects you from radiation, it has an amazing self-healing system built right in, and it's packed with sensors that let you experience the entire world. It's truly a dynamic, living shield.
We've just seen how much our integumentary system does for us. Every single second of every single day, without us even having to think about it. It is constantly on duty. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Knowing just how hard it works for you, what's one simple thing you can do today to help your supersuit do its job?